Welcome back to 10-Foot Customs, and on this episode we take a couple days to finally, and not quite completely, finish the brake swap and locker swap for Ruby. We almost made it. We were this close, but got close enough that I'm happy with where we got, so stick around. So not much has changed since the last video, other than I have the axle now just sitting here in front of this axle, because basically everything just from here is going to transfer back. So I'm hoping it's just going to be an easy transfer back. Obviously, except for the fact that these are Narrowtrack axles that have the Widetrack locker. So this locking system isn't going to go back on. I'm going to put manual lockers on, like worn lockers, or I don't have factory lockers for it. I do not believe. I'm going to have to check. I don't think I have factory lockers anymore. But I do have a set of worn lockers that I could put on. But we're going to just strip off the ends of these and transfer everything back to that axle. So I've never taken these factory lockers out. I'm not 100% sure how I do that. So you're going to kind of learn along with me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's got brand new backing plates, so I'm assuming this should all come off pretty easily, just because some of this stuff has been replaced. I don't know if the U joints have been. They might have been replaced. They're tight and they feel in good condition. So again, gonna just start stripping off the ends and see what we get. I'm again not sure on all this stuff, so come along for the learning experience. I'm not 100% certain, but I do believe. Well, let's see what's underneath this cap first. I don't know what's under this cap. Is there a nut, like a wheel bearing nut? I don't know. No. That is part of the locker mechanism. Snap ring underneath there. But I bet you, I know, that has to come off before this end comes off. So I still have to take the end off. Then I can get the snap ring off. Get my snap ring pliers and do that. Get this off. It probably would have been easier to do this on the Jeep, but that's not bad. Again, I have a feeling that this isn't going to come off till the snap ring is out. So we'll get a pair of snap ring pliers and we'll remove the snap ring. Well, can't find my snap ring pliers because, well, that's normal. So I'm going to try to just get it off with a pair of pliers and a screwdriver, which should work. Should be pretty easy if I can just get underneath it and stop it from rotating. Get there and there. Come on. I can get it to spread apart. There we go. Guess I get underneath it now. Need an extra set of hands. Or the proper tool. That's also good to have. Snap rings are not difficult unless you stab your finger. There we go. There we go. That's fine. Hold that side of it so it can't go back in. And we'll just work it around. Okay, there's our locker. Well, the locking piece. So basically, if I understand how this works properly, and I could throw this back on just to make it work for, well, actually it wouldn't matter, just freewheel otherwise. On this style axle, this Widetrack style axle, this is always engaged. My shafts are always spinning to the differential. The differential is always engaged. When you need the four-wheel drive, it was an air system in the glove box that you would turn to lock the front end. It did the locking mechanism in the transfer case, turning this all on. With the transmission, the Dana 20 transfer case. Maybe I'm right on that. I think it's a Dana 20 transfer case. You actually obviously have to put that into whatever four-wheel drive you want, and then you have to come out and manually lock the front end in. So when you're in two-wheel drive, this part of the axle isn't doing anything. These axles are not spinning, they're not doing anything, and that's the difference between the Widetrack and the non-Widetrack style setup. Yes. Once that cover's removed, in here you'll find this really big, I do believe 55mm nut, and this flat washer that's actually got a lock in it, but also it's got a tang in the middle, but also folds over right there. So we have to unfold this. We use a punch, and then like I said, this is a 55mm nut that you take off. It's a really big thin wall thing, and I have a couple of them. And before you ask, no, obviously I don't know where they are, so I'm probably going to have to buy another one, and then I'll take that one and put it somewhere safe so they don't lose it, and at that point I'll find the other two, and then I'll have three of those same sockets together, you know, until I add a fourth or a fifth to that same group of sockets. So I'll get this off the way you're not supposed to, and I will again then be using the hammer I'm not supposed to be using because, you know, why not? I can't find my ball peen either, so we're using what we can today. Well, for some reason that last clip cut short. I got the brake off, so what I was showing was that this is that outer nut. If you take a punch, you can punch it and remove it, but again, not the right way of doing it, but that's what I did. It's actually a tapered nut as well. It's got like a curve to it, so it puts pressure on. This is that tanged washer, and then this is where it was bent over against the nut to hold the nut from unscrewing. That just retains this nut, which is a flat nut that has no bevel to it. This is one that puts the tension on your bearings, and then this washer's behind that, and this just makes sure that when this nut's putting pressure on the bearing, it's only putting pressure on the inner bearing race and not the outer bearing to, you know, bind it up. So that's how that goes. I just looked at the bearings. Everything in there is brand new, newer. Someone did this again recently. This grease is still gray. So the next major step is going to be to remove the backing plate, and I think they're 9/16 nuts. Yeah, they're 9/16. We get an extension on there, and see if I can. Let's see if these work. Again, I'm hoping all this stuff comes off relatively easy since it is relatively new. We're going to find out. Let's go down though. Whoa, whoa. There should be washers on these, but there's not. It's okay. So now these six bolts hold the backing plate on, but they also hold the spindle on. I'm gonna lose this thing off the jack here in a second. It's gonna want to tip. And I have noticed the angle of this axle might kick up a little more. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if they're all the same or not. You'd think they would be. But if that's level, like how that one is, that pinion is pointed up and that pinion's flat. I might need to get caster blocks on this thing to help get it where it needs to be. Pretty filthy, but they're literally, again, brand new. And they're, I think, like for the set, it might be over $100 for these. So it's kind of nice to have them when I got this Jeep, that they had the brand new backing plates. Right now, the Rusty doesn't even have backing plates on. He really doesn't have brakes either, but the rotors are on. I just never put backing plates on. Once this is off, I'm going to be able to take a measurement of the stub axles for like this length and then check the other ones to make sure that they are indeed the same and that these parts are going to transfer over. It is still a concern that they are not going to transfer over. Okay, the backing plate should come off with very little effort here. Should. Should come off with very little effort. Little effort, come on. It's stuck on the center of the hub. It's coming. There it is. Okay, backing plate's off. Now, the hard part. And I say that honestly. These spindles can be a pain to get off here. I'm going to re-grease all this anyway. So I'm going to take off what we can, so the rust and crud that do fall onto it isn't going to make a difference. A little bit of seal wear, but whatever, it's fine. We'll see if this is loose at all. You got to be very, very, very careful, because you have bearing surface here and you have bearing surface here. I do believe these are two bearing races. And then you have threads. You cannot damage those. This spindle is flanged inside of the knuckle. So there's a part of this thing that sits inside the knuckle. And it can be a pain to get off. There's actually a tool that slides on that threads onto the threads here, and it's a slide hammer to pull that off. I don't have that tool. I'm just going to see if it'll start to move. There's a gap in it already. Yeah, there's actually a gap in this already, so this one's actually going to come off way better than Rusty used it, I think. What I have found out, if these are really stuck and you can't get them out, what I had to do with Rusty, because I didn't want to buy the tool to remove it, and like then his brakes were already gone as well, and I was going to be replacing all the bearings and everything, so that was all going to be going anyway. What I did was I took the rotor off, installed the rotor backwards, put the both nuts back on with the washers and everything, kind of just reset it up backwards, used the hammer and beat on the rotor. Again, the rotor was already trashed, not a big deal. Beat on the rotor. Actually, I think that's how I got that one off too. And then it pulls the hub off, the spindle comes off. Pretty simple, no extra tools needed. You are going to have to buy new bearings, and again, your rotor most likely, if it's shot, Again, that's why I did it. It wasn't not a big deal. This one's moving though. I can already see it. This one is moving. Yeah, that's actually nice. That's already got movement in it. Let's see if we can actually get it to pry off though. Put a screwdriver and then hit towards the screwdriver. It should give us more gap. And this hammer is not going to damage the metal in any way. Oh, we got good movement now. There you go, starting to move. We're stuck on this top side a little bit. And there's a bearing inside here. There's a bearing inside here as well that will get out. There it goes. Pulling the entire axle spline out, which we don't want. There we go. Yeah, it's got brand new bearings in it. It's still got red grease in there. This is all fantastic. This is great. Don't need this since I've already got one on there. But I can take a measurement now to make sure that these are the same size. Got that seal in there as well. Then they got the plastic piece. So I can take that measurement. So let's see. I doubt that these are going to be within like, there's a difference. It's not going to be like 1/8 of an inch. It's going to be a big difference if there's going to be a difference, I would hope. That is just shy of 6.5. This one, yeah, they're the same. That's awesome. Which means everything on this one can be converted over to that one without a problem. That also lets me know that I can scrap this axle if I want to, but keep the spindle. Or just keep this end, because I'll never need the short piece, but this would be of value to me to keep, you know, in a parts bin, because you never know. I actually do have, I think, one on Rusty, that this part where the bearing rides is all chewed up, and I didn't replace it. I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit and threw a bearing back on it. So having an extra one of these or both of these would be good for the future, but I don't need the rest of these. Actually, I think if the knuckles are the same, 620233. There's no, what, 620233. Okay, so that tells me that's the same too. So there's things that I might want to keep from here out just because you bend a knuckle or something, it might be worth keeping these. So probably from here, that's it. This, ow, that was sharp. This and this we will keep, and the rest of the axle will probably go to the junkyard. I don't need it. I don't want to keep storing them. I've got a bunch of them already. I'm gonna probably do the same with. I'll just keep the parts that I need that are useful to me and get rid of the rest of it. Somewhere back down there behind those white covers, I do believe there are the axles or the brake system for these axles. And I'm going to go see if I can track them down because I know the rotors are there and everything. And I think these plates are still on those rotors. and I want to find out if they are a 5 or a 6 lug bolt pattern carrier. If they are 5, I'm going to put them on here. If they're 6, there's no reason to change them. I'll have to find 6 bolt lockers, or eventually change them over to 5 bolt. But again, for right now, even if I just put them back on and put those covers on, I don't have a front drive shaft anyway, so it doesn't make these aren't going to lock to anything anyway. It would just make my drive shaft spin, or my U-joint spin. So that's what I'm doing. Let's see if I can dig those out and see how many bolts there are for around the locker with those ones back there. Okay, I did find the other rotors actually under the mobile motorcycle. You can see the difference here between the 5 and the 6 bolt. They do make a manual locker for the 6, but they're harder to come by than the aftermarket. If you need an aftermarket, like a worn one, it's just these 5 bolts are just easier to come by. The only way to get these off of here is to knock the studs out. I want to try to do it without damaging them too much, but the splines for your stud are actually holding this was off, but this is how I got this. Remember, these were off. I just put them back on, the spindles underneath here, just because I tried to save everything I could. These are cruddy. Let me get this off, and then we'll be back down just to the bare rotors. Okay, these are now down to the same exact point. Took the spindle out. So these plates are not part of the rotor. When you buy a rotor, you just get the rotor. And so anytime you replace the rotors, you have to take the studs out anyway. So you just knock them out like that, and this should come off of here. She's moving. So these splines on the stud actually spline into this plate, not into the rotor. Should come right out. There it goes. So that's it. That piece comes out. We'll swap it with that one. I'll clean out all the garbage in here. That's like with the bearing race, but the bearing race is good, so I'm not concerned about that. Yeah, the bearing race is smooth. Yeah, we'll just swap those in. Once this is all cleaned out, we'll re-grease them all back up again, and we should be good. Okay, so here's where we're at. This is the hub, cleaned out the majority of the grease and crud. The outer bearing race is in relatively good shape, except for that spot right there. The inner bearing race is in much worse shape. So what I'm going to do, minimum, but I'm going to do them both if I can. If I can get them both out, I'm going to pop the races out of this hub assembly and put them into this one. I'll start with the back one. If it comes out easy, then I'll do the front one. But just, the front one's only got that one spot. I'm really not concerned about it. I could run it, but the back one's bad. And if I'm doing all this work to replace them, I might as well try to get them both swapped out. So let me do that. It's gonna be pretty easy. I'm just gonna take my punch, and you can catch the back of the race right there and try to drive it out. And the same thing on this side, you flip it over and you can catch the back of the race right there and drive it out. So that's the plan. See if I can get them out. I forgot they actually do you a solid on these, getting these bearing races out. So this one's already out, the back one's already out. They give you these little indents there and over there, top and bottom, so you can get a good purchase on your wheel bearing, or on the inner, or on your bearing races to punch them out. So I said I'm just using flat punch on the solid surface and drove it right out. So I'll do the same thing on the front one, and then we'll swap them out and put those ones back in. So that's what we're doing. Okay, bearing races are reinstalled. Now to get this thing back on, you gotta put your lug bolts, lug studs back in. And I'm gonna do that the wrong way because I don't have an extra pair of lug nuts to pull them in. I'm just going to try to feel out where they are on the spline that was there before. And knock them in with a hammer. No, yeah, good enough. Yeah, I'll take that. When I pull the lug nuts tight, if there's any bit of play, it'll pull them the rest of the way in. That's it. Got a bunch of grease on the rotor, which is great for them, but we'll solve that later too. That's it. This brake rotor assembly is ready to go back on. So now it's basically install reverse, which we'll do really quick. Spindle, and then the backing plate, and it's pretty clean, a little bit of rust on it, but not bad. I might go get some washers though, because these are gonna shred that backing plate if I don't. Yeah, these go right on. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go get some washers for that backing plate, just because I want to. So let me go do that. I'll be back shortly. We are back. Let's see if we can finish assembling this whole thing. I gotta make sure I put the parts back on that I took off. That's got the dust boot on it, don't have to worry about that. And then there's this piece right here. Tons of grease on it. There we go. So now the spindle has to go back on first. Clean her off the best we can. Kind of like that. Okay. That part's on. Now, put our dust shield on, which goes like that so that the caliper can fit. Don't forget about that part. Your caliper does have to fit. And I picked up flat washers and some locking washers. I couldn't find regular lock washers, so I just got knurled ones. I don't think it'll make a difference, but just having them will be better than nothing. Put a little WD-40 just to help the threads go, or the bolts go on the threads, or the nuts go on the threads. Tighten this in a roundabout pattern. Tight. tight, 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 tight. Okay, spindle is on now. The bearing in there was good, so that's good. So yeah, all that should be fantastic. Now we'll get some wheel bearing grease, and we can put the brake rotor back on. We got the back of the rotor and the hub assembly, and I'm going to put the bearing back in. Try to feel if there's any crud on it from taking it out. I don't believe there is. It feels pretty good. There might be a little bit on the inside. Just take off the outside skim layer of what we can. We're going to re-grease it anyway. Drop that back in there. There's enough greasy paper towels here to sink a ship. Not quite sure what that means. Yeah, it feels really good. Add some fresh red grease to it. There's a pocket right in between the two bearing races that you want to add it to, so that I'm assuming when it gets hot that it can pull stuff out of there or put stuff back in there. I repack it, but it's pretty well packed. Yeah, it's not like these are new going in. These have been running for quite some time. Get some new stuff in there, whatever. It's fine. Adding just a little bit on the outside. And drop that back in there. Grease is the worst. Add to the paper towel collection. Okay, we've got to put the rear seal back in that we drove out of the hub. So this goes like this. And just sits down nice and flush. There we go. Now, just at the front bearing, but we can set this back onto the spline. Okay, got my outer bearing. Try to keep it from getting covered in crud. Take this. There we go. And check this bearing as well. Just take off the excess outside material that could have gotten any kind of rust or anything on it. And we will put grease on it. You cannot have too much grease, I do not believe. I've never been told you can have too much grease on these. Okay, so now slide that under there. And we will clean our fingers off again. You just need a whole roll of paper towels to do this, just pretty sure. Maybe 2 rolls. Okay. Now we got the pieces we have to put back in. We have our first washer. And then the second washer is the flat washer. It's not tapered, or not beveled, I guess. And I don't have my socket right now to put this on, so I'm not going to be able to tighten it how it's supposed to be, and I will. I just want to get it on so that this side's mostly done. And you want to tighten it and roll it to get the right torque. But again, since I don't have my socket, I really can't get it to where I need it to be. But that's on there. That's crazy that was that easy, and I haven't been doing it. I should have done this so long ago. So what I'm going to do is I am going to wrap up for the night because I'm going to get dinner. I'm going to get my socket so that I can tighten this down and get this side done. And then the other side will just be the reverse, or the other side will just be the same as what this side was, identically, just do it on that side. And then we can transfer the brake caliper brackets over and put the brake caliper on. Once that's done, that kind of wraps up that part of the swap, which is going to be awesome. I can put my wheels back on, and the spacing will be awesome. So we're going to end that for tonight. And when I get my when I find my socket, we'll continue. And we are back. This side is done, put back together. The brake is on, basically everything done but the lockout cap, which I got to find. I did forget that widening this out also is going to put stress on my brake line, so I'm going to have to fix that, which is not a big deal, which is why I don't have them fast and permanent anyway. I can move it over here, and we'll have plenty of room for my brake line. I found my, I think it's a 55 millimeter socket right there. So we will finish assembling this side, and then I'll tell you the one kind of mistake I made. Not really a mistake, but could have had this done a little bit quicker, but hold on. So if you remember taking these apart, you got the two nuts inside here. So I'm going to tighten these down, or the first one down, until it's pretty tight, and you keep rotating. Until you get it so this thing starts to bind up, which it is. It's not binding up, which is good. I'm going to back it off just a little bit so it spins nice and free like that. There's really not a torque spec to this. It's kind of just by, I mean, maybe there is, I don't know. I've always just gone by feel, and this feels pretty good. It's nice and smooth. We'll take our other lock washer, put it in, and then this is the lock nut. It's got like a curve to it. Put that guy on the outside. Make that pretty darn tight and still make sure this moves though. Yep, still moves nice and free, which it should. I shouldn't have changed the other washer, or not at all. Okay, with that in, I will be able to bend over that lock washer, and this side will be done. Let me do that and get this caliper put back on, and then both sides will be complete, and then I will show you something. Both sides are completely back together. I did wipe down the rotors and got all the grease off with some brake cleaner. Then we have to adjust these because these are way too tight right now, but that's fine. I can mount this bracket over here more, or build a bracket that sticks out by the shock, not a problem. I have to get grade 8 shock bolts. I don't have those yet either. I do have like 3 or 4 inches of travel if I put the shock up in its mount. It's there. So that's probably what I'm going to do for right now. I haven't decided 100% if I'm going to just cut the lower plates off or what I'm going to do. I haven't decided that yet. Or, I don't know. It's kind of redundant, but right now it's fine. I don't care. The Ruby's a driver. I told you that I replaced these hubs because they're 6-bolt hubs, and these are 5-bolt hubs. And 5-bolt stuff is easier to come by in the aftermarket than is the 6-bolt that I know of. From what I've read up on, what I've been told, it's harder to find 6-bolt stuff than it is to find 5-bolt. And I know I can get worn 5-bolt. I don't think I can get worn 6-bolt for the spline count that I have. So I went over out here into the Jeep parts junkyard. I'm like, oh, I know I've got a set of lockers out here on this other axle. Right there. Those are 6-bolt. And I do believe that they turn nice as well. Yeah, they turn. So I could have just swapped over the hubs as they were and just thrown these lockers on to there, and that would have been done a long time ago. These are both rear end 20s. I think this is a Widetrack, that's a Narrowtrack. I think this set matches. I don't remember. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's off of a Quadra-Track setup. Look how far the pumpkin's off to this side compared to this one. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Anyway, so now what are we gonna do? Well, I know I have a set of lockers. I bought a set of lockers on Marketplace for Rusty. Where are they? I don't know. I'm pretty good at that. Kind of like the socket for the big nut was on the other rotor that I didn't pull out from underneath the motorcycle. Had I pulled that rotor first, I would have had the socket. Just didn't know. Here's where I think they are. Hold on. If I had to guess where I put them when I cleaned up this garage at least once, I know it doesn't look like it, but I did. In that cabinet, there's a lot of Jeep parts. I'm putting a lot of stuff in there. Then I was trying to know where new parts coming in. So I go, oh yeah, I need a new part. It's in that cabinet. But of course, I've got the golf bike and the mobile bike packed right up against it. I might be able to access it. I'm going to try to climb back there and get to it. There's one little spot there that I can stand. It's where all my paint goes. But we'll see. I'm going to try to get back there. Hopefully they're in there. They are. We'll be able to install them. So hold on. So in the quick video I just looked up, yes, it does look like we have to take out these 5 bolts around the hub here. This one's got dirt in it, so I'm not quite sure how we got this one off. No, I don't want to break them. Well, maybe just strip that one. That's awesome. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, that one's loose. And that one's loose. Let's go back to the one. That one's loose. That one is not. So this one might be going on. No, I can't. There's a snapping that's got to go in there. guys. I've already twisted. The Allen is twisted, which that's good. Well, I might be drilling the heads out of that one. Let's try the other one before I completely destroy this socket. Okay, so far so good. One. Oh, two. Sounds when you put steel bolts in aluminum. They like to corrode. That one came out easy. This Allen socket looks like a drill bit now, but okay, well, okay, we're making progress. If I just gotta drill out those two in there, I'm sure once I drill the heads off, the bolt itself will come out no problem, because these aren't very tight. There we go. Okay, well, one's better than none. Give me it. Give it. Okay. This come, well, great. There's some kind of special screw. Got like a tapered head on them. I might have to order them from Super Winch. Okay, so this is going to go on. I'm going to clean up this surface, put a little bit of RTV on it. These are made in Brazil. This goes on, and then I put the snap ring back on. And then I put the cap back on. That easy, had that one come apart to have this done. But now that that didn't come apart, this is going to add a lot of time to getting screws, drilling it out, and all that kind of fun stuff. Let's get this side done, though. Hold on. So I've wiped down this mating surface with some brake cleaner. Do the same with this side. This just keeps the grease inside your bearing area. You don't want it seeping out everywhere, getting all over your brakes, all over your wheels. I mean, unless you do, and that's fine too, if that's your thing. Now we're going to take a little bit of black RTV. I don't believe it's going to take much to seal this surface. And again, it's not holding back. It's not holding back fluids. It's just holding back the grease, so the grease doesn't come out. So as long as we got a little bit of a seal on it, we should be fine. Take this piece. Hopefully it's the right spline count, which it should be. This came off of a Jeep. We will get this snap ring put on. I really wish I had my snap ring pliers that I can't find. There it is. Now it's all the way on. Here we go. That is all that. Still spins really nice. Okay. Now, got the other half of this part to deal with. which I think is just as simple as what it is. I'll have to get a different set for Rusty, or just find a factory set. I don't mind the factory set look. I know they're not made for strength like aftermarket, but again, I'm not concerned about that with what I'm going to be doing. Okay, that's one locker on. And so this side is technically complete. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how these work, is right now I'm just spinning the rotor and nothing is going on inside from here over. If I go in here, then I switch this to 4x4. Now I'm spinning the axle. Yoke is spinning, which means that this is working. And then if I go back to two-wheel drive, it unlocks, and there we go. That's it. Well, and there you have it. Now, that part of the, well, except for that locker, which I'm going to have to get parts for, and basically just drill those 2 screws out and put a couple new screws in. Not a big deal. If I have to call Super Winch and tell them what I have, hopefully they can get them to me, because they are a specialty screw, but that's not a big deal. I'll have that sorted out here probably this week. But you're going to be doing the same thing that side is. Put the hub on, put some RTV on it, snap ring, ship it. So that's super easy. Widetrack is basically done as far as that part goes. I can put the tires back on if I had to move it. And we could push it around in with tires on it. Got to get the shocks mounted, which I guess I got to get bolts for those. Simple. The next step is steering. So that's going to be the next thing I have to order parts for, to get the steering put in, and figure out what I'm doing with that. So that will hopefully be the next episode with Ruby. So thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope everybody has a great week.